Hello, CQ, CQ, CQ. Calling CQ the Old Friends Net. This is WA4LLR, Dave in Burnsville, North Carolina, calling CQ the Old Friends Net. This net meets 3 times weekly, Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m., Thursday mornings at 9 a.m., Sunday evenings at 6:30 p.m. on or about this frequency of 3715 kilocycles. The net is conducted in the amplitude modulation mode, carried out in the old-fashioned roundtable format. So, the net's a great place to exchange information, look for parts and pieces, trade equipment, and just have a good time of fellowship, centered mainly around vintage gear. So CQ the Old Friends Net. Stations wishing to participate, give me a call and come down.
N4LQ.
KN4R. WB4NKL.
K4GDN.
WA4EVK.
N4OZI.
W4VRO.
W4MEC.
K4VWD.
Okay, let me tell you who I have. There was a double with Cliff and right before George. So I have LQ, R, NKL, and a question mark, GDN, EVK, OZI, VRO, MEC, and VWD. Now, who was it that was before George?
WB4ARK.
All right, I got you, buddy. I'll put you right after Cliff, ARK, and right before George. Who else do we have? All right, let me give the list one more time. N4LQ, KN4R, WB4NKL, WB4ARK, K4GDN, WA4EVK, N4OZI, W4VRO, W4MEC, K4VWD. Anyone else? Okay, good morning to everybody. So far signals are real good. No problems copying anyone. We've got 61 degrees, fog with clear skies above it, and looks like it's going to be a real nice early part of the day. They're saying we might get some rain in the afternoon, a few thunderstorms, but looked like it's going to be mainly a pretty day. So, hope everybody is doing well, and we will go ahead and get started with the mayor of the city of Pleasant Living, N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ. Well, if I was mayor of this city, they'd fire me probably. Anyway, got up this morning and made myself a cup of coffee with my Keurig that my daughter bought me for Christmas a couple of years ago. But I tried a new method. I opened up I got it started, put the water in it. The cup was sitting there empty under it, and I thought, what would happen if I just dumped one of those cream packs in there? So I did, and then the coffee came out, and what do you know, it mixed with the cream and it all dissolved just perfectly. That's my new method. Seems to work. I don't always use cream, but I thought I'd give this a try, see how it works. So that was the excitement around here this morning, and working on the NC101 XA that I picked up at Shelby, sitting here on its side, and it needs a driver transformer that the seller ripped out of it before I bought it. So I'm going to have to replace that. And that's what's going on in Shelby. So Brian, how copy? KN4R, N4LQ.
Okay, Steve, very good. N4LQ and the Tuesday Old Friends. This is Brian, KN4R. Cheryl's Ford, North Carolina, where it's another beautiful day today. And let's see, I'm on the Globe Champ and listening on the old black HRO this morning. So everybody sounds really, really good so far. So, and very good on your new coffee process there. I gotta have cream. I just wife and I can't drink coffee without it. So it'll probably be the end of us one of these days. And very good on the NC101XA. I'm assuming that's the a sliding coil national receiver. I want to hear more. I'm actually working on a presentation right now for middle of next week for the Antique Wireless Association on all the moving coil receivers, and there certainly were a handful of them at Shelby this time around. So I want to hear more about your restoration there. So, and go ahead, Cliff. WB4NKL in the group. KN4R.
Yeah, KN4R. It's WB4NKL. Okay, Brian. I'm back on the Globe King here this morning, listening on a rice box ICOM receiver. Good deal on the National, Steve. I've got 2 or 3 of those, maybe 3 of those National receivers. I picked up another one from Ron at Shelby too. It's a 240C. I've had the 240Ds, but this is a 240C. It's got the sliding tray and don't have the feet on it like the D's got. It looks like the D, except don't have the chrome feet. So that's a project down the road sometime. And okay, on the Keurig, that's what got me started drinking coffee about 8 years ago, I guess. My daughter got me a Keurig machine, and I've been trying to drink coffee ever since. I'm still not a connoisseur of coffee, but I have to have a little bit of cream, like you and Brian are talking about. A little too bitter without it. So I'll send it on around. Go ahead, buddy. WB4ARK. It's WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, WB4ARK. Okay, Cliff. Well, I'm on the newer version of the ART13. Belongs to, well, we'll just let that go for right now. Anyway, I've been working on it for a good while, and it's had auto-tune problems. It's had wiring problems. This unit had never worked any time recently. So got all that straightened out, and this is the first test. And I'd like a comment about the audio. I have not been through the audio section yet. That will be next. But I checked the transmitter yesterday for calibration, and then check the output. It's a little bit low on output, but frequency-wise, it's pretty good according to the frequency meter. The output to the antenna looks like it's a little bit low, so it might be the 813 isn't getting enough power out. So we'll check that later, but we'll turn it over to George and see if what kind of signal reports we get back on this thing. K4GDN, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK as a group. This is K4GDN. And I copied you fine, buddy, but you didn't seem as strong as you normally do. The band seems to be a little bit weak in general this morning, but I'm copying everybody okay. And there is a little QSB. I'm running the Ranger 2, sending about 7 or 8 watts to my 811 linear, and I think it's putting out about 175, if I'm reading the meter right. And I'm on the vertical. I'm on the 9V butternut, receiving on the HRO 50. Like I say, so far everybody's coming in here pretty well. Hope I can copy Charlie and Ray okay. And I might mention, we've been having a little bit, or I have been having some problems with our cell phone service, particularly yesterday. We're kind of in an area that's kind of weak, which I don't quite understand given my location, but I guess that's what you get for living in the third world. I consider this place to be. But anyway, it seems to be having a little bit of problem receiving and even sometimes sending. So anyway, we'll turn it on to Boone and see how it goes. WA4EVK in the group, K4GDN.
K4GDN in the group, WA4EVK. Well, I'm hoping for a good morning, and maybe we can dodge the bullet on storms this afternoon. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful morning here in Pickens. Nice, mild, sunny morning. Yesterday was pretty eventful in the evening. We have been getting our full share of evening thunderstorms, and one yesterday that was pretty severe. In fact, my brother's a retired meteorologist, and he sent me a text that said, head down. So we got lucky, and the ridge line to our north seemed to divert it over, and I haven't heard whether there was any damage from it or not. We sure got plenty of alerts from National Weather Service. I've been busy working on a little relay box to control this Globe Scout Deluxe I got from Steve, and I should have it on the air with HQ-170's receiver fairly shortly. And with that, I'm going to send it over to W4OZI, WA4EVK.
Okay, Boone, WA4EVK. This is N4OZI, and very good. We're on the Drake B line today, running the T4XB in control carrier mode, so the carrier will bounce up and down a little bit, but hopefully it's not too bad. And got the R4B going here. A little different setup, so we thought we'd try it out this morning, and it's been running pretty good on AM. Doesn't do too bad as long as I don't overmodulate it. That's the main thing. Try not to overmodulate it. Conditions pretty good. Days are getting shorter by over 2 minutes a day, so conditions are really improving in the mornings and the evenings. Hope to be on 160. I've been hanging around 160 in the evenings, but I hadn't heard much. But I'll continue doing that. Tonight there's a net on 160 at 1900 that I like to check into. I can get the guy up there in Indianapolis pretty good, so I'll be doing that. And got the KWN2 on the air, and that's working real well. Rebuilt the power supply for it, and it's working great. So very happy about that. Keep it going and turn it to my neighbor down south there. Ray, you're booming in. W4VRO to take it. N4OZI.
N4OZI and the net, W4VRO. Thank you, Alan, for the signal report. And Drake is sounding great. Good morning to you, Dave. Thank you for calling the net. Good morning to everyone that has checked in. Signals are weaker than usual this morning, but most are Q5. George copied about 50% of your transmission, and that's better than usual. So good to hear you this morning. Cliff, the Globe King sounds good. Buddy, good luck with the different AR-13. It sounds good. You're weaker than usual, and that may be conditions. A lot of stations are weaker than usual this morning. I must make this my one and only transmission. I have an appointment in Noonan. I have to leave here in just a few minutes. I'm going to listen for just a short time, and then I'll have to pull the switch. So, Dave, check me out after this. Dave, you were just booming in here when you first started calling the net, and then signals went down a little. But there is some QSB. Good to hear all of you. And Alan, glad you got that KWM2 working well. That's good. I think it's a 2, or is it a 1? I believe it's a KWM2. But that's good. Sounds like you got a lot of work going there. That has to be a lot of fun. So, let me turn it over to Charlie, and I'll say good morning to all of you, and hope to hear you again soon. W4MEC and the group, W4VRO.
Microphone's over here. Okay, right, K4VRO in the group, W4MEC. Went for the coffee cup instead of the microphone. Good morning, everybody. Great signals. George, you're doing fine this morning. Good copy on you. S9 coming in here this morning. I got your tube care package put together. I'm missing a couple of the more exotic ones, like a 6X8. And I'm going to check a few tubes. I've got some used 807s, but no, nothing new. And I'll see if they're any good. But I've got most of the list except for a couple exotic ones. I've got quite a few 12BY7s, but no 57. Actually, I got one 5763, and I'm pretty sure that's the same tube. So I'll give you some 12BY7s in there. So working on that. Been working on an SX110 that I was going to bring along with me with the Valiant to Wayne down there, and it's more or less going okay, but it was not very sensitive. I checked a couple of things. I got it from Glenn. He was just getting rid of it. Said, "Here, take this thing," and I opened it up. He did his usual beautiful workmanship underneath, and recapping and fixing everything underneath. It looks beautiful, but it didn't have very good sensitivity. And I'm scratching my head. It lined up okay. Everything seemed to peak. And what I had done was I had looked at the tubes there, and most of them looked brand new, so I didn't bother to check them. But I noticed he changed out 6SG7s for 6HSH7s, which are excellent to swap in the tube substitution. They're identical in all respects except transconductance, which one's 900 more than the other, but everything is almost identical. And I'm sitting there, and I got to be curious about the 6SH7, and I said, well, I wonder if I got one I can swap, and I went over there, and the RF amp tube, or it was the first IF, I can't remember now, it was either the first RF or IF amp, and was not in the socket all the way. It wasn't in the socket. It was cold. And it was actually the first IF. The filament was the tube was cold as a cucumber, but it was plugged in partially. I said, well, could that be it? So I pushed the thing the rest of the way in, and the signal generator was sitting on about -70, and all of a sudden I was deaf, So when the tone came up, so I was glad it was a bad tube or improperly seated tube on my part. So anyway, so I got that here. Wayne will have a Valiant and a SX110 to listen to us on, hopefully. Other comment, Buddy was being secretive about who owned that RR13, and it belongs to me. Well, it did. I got it from Mir, who got it from another fellow who said that, oh, you can't have the power supply, but I'll sell you the transmitter. It's working fine. So apparently that guy was into the used car business also, because Mir never tried it out, and I swapped some gear for it, so no real money changed hands, and he wanted the gear I didn't have a use for, and I wanted an ART13, so. But I never really got around to working on it, other than the fact that I found out it didn't work. So, so it was kind of just sitting there on the to-do list, and I took up the chance to have Buddy, the expert or resident ART13 guru, work on it. But
I might have to go sell a kidney. I'm not sure. So they can't pay for them. Anyway, let's see. So much for that. Let me go to Lee, K4VWD in the group, W4MEC.
Yeah, okay, Charlie, very good. W4MEC, K4VWD. Well, it's 73 degrees and the sun's shining here at my house. No, it's up to 74 now, and the sun's shining here. And, buddy, the ART-13 sounds fine here. I got one question. This standby receiver I'm using, the RF gain control is almost negligible. I can turn it all the way down. The sound reduces a little bit and the S meter goes down a little bit, but not much. So something's wrong there. And looking at my information, the wiring diagram, etc. for the PMR8, I cannot tell which of the variable resistors the RF gain control is. So if any of y'all know what the resistance number for that RF gain control is on the PMR8, I would sure like to know. And with that, I'll keep it going. So back up to you, Dave, and you're sounding good here in Greenville. WA4LLR in the group, K4VWD.
Okay, Lee, fine business. Let me take a quick standby. Do we have anyone else that would like to join? Come now. Nothing heard. K4VWD and the old friends group, WA4LLR. Fine business all the way around. Okay, Steve, on the new coffee method. And I'm kind of like Brian. Through my life, I've consumed coffee in many forms. For years, I drank it black. And then, I don't know what happened, and I went to cream and sugar. And then I went to just cream. And then I went to tea because the coffee was giving my stomach a fit. And finally came to realize it wasn't so much the coffee, it was the sugar. So I drink quite a bit of hot tea now. But I do drink coffee probably a couple of cups a day, and I found out that if I don't add the sugar to it, the coffee doesn't seem to bother me. So there you go. Good luck with the NC100X, I believe you said it was. And we've got a good representation of the globes today, with Brian on the Globe Champ and Cliff on the Globe King. Buddy, the ART-13 sounds good. The audio sounds great. You're not quite as strong as usual, but I'm not sure what that is, the band, because there is quite a bit of QSB. And George, the Ranger 2, and the amp and the vertical are doing good up this way. Boone, looking forward to hearing the Globe Scout Deluxe. And Alan, the Drake B-line, sounds fine. Ray, 7-3 to you. Hope your appointment goes well. Good to hear you this morning. And Charlie, thanks for the tip that if your receiver lacks sensitivity, first see if the tubes are plugged in. Oh my! But it's interesting the things that we find that are contributing to the radio's delinquency. Let's see. Our space weather today: sunspot count's 173, solar flux index is 176. And the K is 1.33, so the upper band should be doing pretty good today. On this day in history, Jesse Owens was born, that won the gold medal at the Olympics in 1936, I believe it was. Also on this day in 2003, Johnny Cash passed away at age 71. On this day, 1992, astronaut Mae Jemison became the first African-American woman to fly in space. On this day, 1974, Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia was deposed. And on this day in 1966, the sitcom The Monkees debuted on American TV. And on this day in 1959, Bonanza premiered on NBC. And on this day in 1959, the Soviet Union launched Luna 2, which was the first space probe to hit the moon. And on this day in 1953, John F. Kennedy married Jacqueline Bouvier. So there you go. That's a few things on this day in history. So back down to Steve, N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR in the group, N4LQ. Very interesting. All right, now, Brian, to answer your question on this NC100XA, they made about 5 or 6 different versions of this thing, and the manual has all the models listed on the front, and there's little notes and things in the manual that differentiates between the different models. It's a little confusing. The plain 100 doesn't have any filter. That's the one that I started out with as a novice, which I bought from another ham down the road and hauled back home up a hill through a foot of snow on my sled along with the DX20. It's my first receiver, a first decent receiver anyway, and it did a pretty good job. It did okay for a novice. 40 meter band was about 1/2 inch wide on the planetary dial, and okay on the moving coils. Instead of plug-in coils, they put them all in one big heavy box underneath and slid them back and forth across the bottom of the chassis with a gear mechanism, which was really nice. I think it was a good idea. They seem to last for forever that way. I never had any trouble with them. And catacomb, I think they called that. But each band has its own location in this box, and there's RF, oscillator, and antenna coils in that box for each separate band, and it slides back and forth and makes contacts. And like somebody said, you have to be sure that the components under the chassis don't get caught by that thing as it slides, because it will rip them up. And okay, on your presentation, let me know if there's anything else you want to know about it. It's got a pair of 6F6 push-pull audio, and the driver transformer is missing because the guy at Shelby who I bought it from, I think it was our R390 buddy over there from Florida, but he opened it up while I was standing there, and he said, "Oh, I can't sell this because the transformer in it's worth $500. Somebody had taken the driver transformer and replaced it with a Western Electric, and he saw that, and he wouldn't sell it. And I said, well, if you want to take that out, I'll give you half price for it, which he did, and I went back and got it. So now I need to find the transformer. I don't think it's too big a deal. And let's see, Lee, on your question, RF gain, I looked it up. That's a 500 ohm pot, and I doubt if it's bad. I had some trouble with mine, and it turned out to be the AVC tube had gone bad. That was a 6BJ7, 6 Baker John 7, and as you're looking at the front of the radio, that is toward the back on the right, next to the last tube on the right. So if you got a way of checking tubes, that would be one to look at. And let's see, Buddy, on your ART13, you can listen to that. I've live streamed it, and it'll be recorded there on my YouTube channel. So just listen, go there and take a listen to yourself. and I switched over to straight AM and then back to synchronous AM, so trying to pick up the minute difference. But there is a little bit of harmonic distortion. I can kind of hear it there a little bit. I'm being picky, but it doesn't sound quite as good as your other ART13. But I'm sure, like you said, you'll figure that out and get it straightened out. Probably a bias problem or something, but it's not really too bad. And that's about it for this round. Go ahead, Brian. KN4R, N4LQ.
Okay, Steve, very good. N4LQ and the old friends. This is KN4R returning. All right, very good on all. And yes, Steve, on the NC100XA, that was an interesting story. I heard that from Robert Ramirez, K4RAR, who you got the receiver from, regarding the transformer he looked down and saw and got all excited about. And yeah, that's terrific. Well, I know you'll figure out something and have that thing purring along. But yeah, that's why I'm doing the presentation. Is there's so many different models and variants of the receivers that use the coil catacomb or the moving coil or sliding coil mechanism, and also that catacomb changes size as well later on with some of the later receivers. So it's an interesting topic that most people don't know much about. So I've been working on content for some time, and of course that includes the airways receivers like Charlie has, model RCD through RCQ, and I have a couple of examples of that as well. And also, of course, the best known receiver is the NC101X, the first ham band only receiver. So anyway, I'd appreciate any pictures or content. The presentation's in pretty good shape, but I can always use more content and more stories. So, buddy, I thought the ART13 sounded pretty good. Kind of sounded to me like maybe you were using a carbon mic versus another mic. So, like you say, you haven't been through the audio yet, but I'd say it's very decent now. But I'm sure you'll have it sounding silky smooth really soon. And congratulations, Charlie, on having a nice working ART13 example soon. So, George, your signals are pretty good. Not as strong as the last time, but coming through here good. Everybody else is as well. So, and 73's Ray. So, and Charlie, let me know if you need a 6X8. I think I've got a few in my tube box. So, over to you, Cliff. WB4NKL in the group. KN4R.
KN4R is WB4NKL. Okay, Brian. Yeah, buddy, the ART13 sounded good to me. But I don't have the big wide range speaker, so some of the other fellas give you a little better report. A good thing about those sliding tray receivers is the coils don't get separated from the receivers like the HRO coils. You see a lot of those with no coils or one coil, and you can buy one of the sliding trays and they're all there. I've got one of the ham band onlys over here. I guess it's an earlier receiver. It's got the PW dial. It don't have the calibrated dial on it, so you got to make a chart or have a chart to correlate the number on the PW dial to the frequency. Seems like that. It's in the stack over here. I picked up not too long ago. I think it works, but I need to go through it and put some capacitors in it, I'm sure. And Boone, be anxious to hear the Globe Deluxe. About all those globes with the Isaac modulation sound good. So I think you'll be happy with it when you get it fired up. I'm heading up to Kutztown, Pennsylvania tomorrow. The antique radio made up that way, and got to make sort of a short trip. I've got to attend Thursday and Friday, and then come back Friday evening. Got to be back here Saturday, so looking forward to that little trip. Go ahead, buddy. WB4ARK, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, WB4ARK. Hold on a second. Hello. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Boy, my plate current. Oh, I'm in the grid circuit. Okay, well, no problem. This ART-13 does belong to Charlie. I didn't want to say anything until he acknowledged it. So anyway, it had quite a few issues, and I started out with the auto-tune circuit, and I was working on it and going through it, and it wouldn't. It would run, but it would run to one end and keep running. It wouldn't stop. So I was going through it and found that the A control knob looked a little strange, and I noticed that there was a idler gear missing. The cam drum wasn't rotating when the auto-tune ran, and so a closer look, I found that the idler gear was missing, which drives that cam gear. So, and that in turn turns a switch which aligns with the channel selector switch for the particular channel that you want selected. Well, I found one in my parts that Nick Mentavalis had, and I added that and went to the stop and stopped. So that took care of that problem, but all the auto-tunes were out of calibration, and several of them wouldn't lock in, and it was a mess. Finally had to remove each auto-tune unit. That's a real chore, and got that straightened out, and then moved on to other issues, and got to the point where I was going to apply some high voltage to the unit, and I did, but I made a fatal mistake. I didn't pull the multiplier tubes or the high frequency oscillator, and so I had noticed that one of the 25 watt 1K resistors in the cathode circuit of the 1625 tubes had been pretty warm, and so I turned the unit on with voltage on it, and in a few moments I started seeing some smoke coming out, so I shut the unit back down real quick and checked and pulled the tubes, ran checks on them, found one 1625 with a shorted inner electrode short, and the high frequency oscillator had 3, serious shorts. It lit that neon lamp full brightness. So I went down to the basement and gathered up some tubes, came back, and so then the RF circuit, oscillator circuit, began to work correctly. So that's where we are right now, where the 813 tube wasn't seated properly. It was pushed down and the filaments would light, but intermittently. and they have to be pushed down very hard. That socket crimps onto those pins really tight, and you have to push quite forcefully to make the final transition down to expand the pins and lock it in place. So we got that done, and then found out that the RF to the antenna is a little bit lower than I'd like to see it. But I appreciate everyone's acknowledgement about the sound, and we'll continue on with the restoration on this unit now. I'm glad to see the mod transformer is not within an issue. That's one of the problems that has occurred with several units that I've seen. And that transformer is getting a little hard to locate now. So, and all the dials set up to about the same position that my ART-13 and the others that I've restored set up to as far as the loading of the antenna is concerned. So that was a good plus. It indicated that the capacitors were correct in their selection of of those particular control knobs. So that's where we are with the restoration. It doesn't have any back cover, side cover on the right side or top or bottom. The bottom, getting the bottom off the unit was, I thought I was going to have to drill out one of the screws that holds the bottom in place, which allows you to get to components to make tests and lubricate the auto tunes and that kind of thing. So it looked like someone had put Loctite on the screw, and it was incredibly tight. I had to use heat to get it loose, but we got it done. So over to George, K4GDN, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK in the group, this is K4GDN, and I'd say at least 90% of that, QSB is beginning to set in, and I agree, it sounds like that 813 may be a little bit on the weak side compared to your other one, but the audio sounds good. And the ART-13s really are interesting to work on. I know I sold the one that I had gotten from Lee, and from what I understand, the fellow I sold it to still hadn't put it on the air. It happened 5 years ago, so I don't know. And when I sold it with all the power supplies that I had built for it. And I never used the auto-tune. I always had manual tuning. I did have a power supply that could run it, that could run that auto-tune, but it was big and heavy, and I believe Charlie ended up with it and some of the stuff that he got when I had to move. But anyway, I never used the auto-tune, but I was very pleased with the ART-13, and I know for my antennas, which I use a dipole, an 80-meter dipole, or inverted V, I usually put a big variable capacitor in parallel with the output, and that seemed to help a good bit, getting it to match to the antenna. Anyway, I'm going to say 73 on this round. QSB is getting a little bit stronger, and the band seems to be a little weak overall, but I enjoyed it and look forward to hearing people on Thursday. And Charlie, I'm probably going to give you a call when we get off the net. I'm going to listen to the end, but hopefully my phone will work. Anyway, let's see, where does it go? It goes to Boone, the WA4GDN.
K4GDN in the group, WA4EVK. I assume George stopped transmitting. I saw his carrier disappear. Conditions have changed to where I can't copy him. Cliff, I'm looking forward to using the Globe Scout Deluxe. It seems to sound real well. I've even messed around with it on 6 meters, but had to change some things around here in the shack, get everything muted and so forth. Looking forward to getting it going. Or not getting it going. It seems to be working great. Steve's got a real interesting video on the YouTube about this particular receiver, by the way. It's pretty interesting how they handle some things on that thing. And that's about it from me. I'm going to send it on over to N4OZI to take it, WA4EVK.
Okay, Boone, WA4EVK. In the net, this N4OZI. Yeah, conditions are starting to go out, so I'll make this one my last one. And certainly enjoy getting on here and hearing you guys. It's really good. I never could get on here during the summer. Conditions just don't hold up at this hour, but days are getting shorter, and that is definitely helping out. So with that, I'll say 73s as well. Certainly enjoy it. And Dave, appreciate you calling the net. And I know that, let's see, look at my list. Ray is checked out, so it goes to you, Charlie. So W4MEC to take it. This is the N4OZI, 73s.
Very good, Alan. N4OZI in the group W4MEC. Well, buddy, I'm sorry that thing has turned out to be a bear. I didn't realize it was missing covers. I thought they were all there. I thought the only thing it was missing was the rack it slid in. But, oh well, the neophyte buys an AR-13, right? Anyway, or swaps for one. Let's see what else. I still got 2 of those RCQs. I never get them confused there, Brian. RCP or RCQ or RCP. They're very close. I don't know what the differences are. And I still have 2 of those things. And one of them I was working on, but I've forgotten how to get the darn catacomb out of this thing. I messed with that thing. I just put it all back together and cleaned it in place. But I know there's a secret to it, but I have forgotten. And I actually used to know how to do it, and it has just totally slipped my mind because we use those things. Well, I left Greer in, when I left Greer, 2004, and I went to Asheville. And we still were using that as a WWE receiver to check clocks. And we're talking a receiver that was made in the 1930s. And you could still get tubes for them through the system, too, which was amazing. And they were actually still in the in the manuals on the maintenance of equipment. It was also included in the list of things still being maintained in 2005 or so, 2000, in that era, and still in use throughout the country. So quite amazing. So were 51J4s. They have lasted. They lasted quite a while, and but not in Asheville. Their 51J4 blew up, and they got rid of it. I don't know. Some ham up there at the time got it. And they bought the Heathkit WWB clock. If you remember that thing, it did 5, 10, and 15 megahertz, I think, or maybe it did 10, 15, and 20. Anyway, it did three bands, and it received them all at the same time and picked the best one to synchronize the clock. And they bought that and built that as a kit, and they were using that forever until the GPS clock came out that synced everything, and when they got that, there was no reason to check WWD every day anymore. So anyway, that's neither here nor there, ancient history now. I sent a email out with a link to an interesting weather site. Some of you might have looked at it. I thought it was, like I said, colorful and interesting because of so many. It fills the whole screen with all kinds of data. And when I was looking at it last night, I know it's September. We're basically in neutral. I think the sun must be pretty close to being dead on the equator right now. And, you know, we're going into fall, and South America is going into spring. And last night when I looked at it, there was no temperature on the entire planet above 88 degrees. So I said, well, something's got to be wrong with that. So I started picking places around the world, India, the middle of Sahara Desert, and gotten real-time information, and it was right. There was no temperature anywhere on the planet higher than 88 degrees. And Antarctica, I'm not sure about this, but was minus 97 in the heart of it, and some places it actually went above minus 100. So, of course, they're coming out of their winter, so that would be expected. And I noticed that even the middle of Greenland was pretty darn cold, too, and they're in the middle of coming out of summer. So, anyway, interesting data on that website just to look at, and pretty pictures. And the Hurricane Lee is... everybody was in a panic when it was heading towards the Florida and that area, and I was looking at the jet stream model. The jet stream model showed it falling apart and being pushed back out to sea, and that's exactly what it has done. It made it turn and is now heading north. And if you watch the jet stream model, it actually falls apart when it's about off the coast of New York, and just turns into a regular storm. So we'll see who's right there. But it's interesting to play junior weatherman and try and figure these things out with all the assets you've got on the internet. So anyway, all right, that goes to Lee again, K4VWD in the group, W4MEC.
Okay, Charlie, W4MEC, this is K4VWD. Well, thank you very much, Steve, for the information. A 500 ohm AVC 6 Bravo Juliet 7, and I have one. I checked my tubes, and I got a GE new old stock. So I will try that after the net. Take the cover off the receiver, replace that tube, and see what happens. Thank you very much. I do appreciate the information. And what else do I have? Thursday we got a net. Look forward to talking to everybody on Thursday. I've got to go grocery shopping, so I'm going to say 7-3, God bless, but I'm going to listen for just a minute in case anybody's got anything for me, but I look forward to talking to everybody Thursday morning. And with that, I'll send it back to you, Dave, and thank you for doing the net, and your signal's good here. WA4LLR in the group, K4VWD, 7-3, God bless.
Okay. K4VWD, WA4LLR. Let me take a quick standby. Any late check-ins, come now.
Okay, got zeroed in 4-way and checking in late and late.
Okay, Don, well, good to hear you. Go ahead and make one and give it back to me.
Checking frequency. Well. Okay, finally. This is how, if you stay off there half a month or two, you forget how to operate, and that's my problem right now. I think I'm close enough. Maybe Charles, everybody can hear me. I don't know. If I can't, I'll turn the power up. I don't know. Anyway, not running about 10 watts. Everybody seems to be fairly decent copy up here in the west side of Burnsville. But that's about it from this end. Oh boy, WA4LLR in the group, N4N.
All right, anybody else? Okay, I guess the dozen is what we had today. Well, 7-3 to George, 7-3 to Alan, 7-3 to Ray, 7-3 to Lee. So we will go ahead and do a 73 round. So, Buddy, turn it to Boone. I believe Boone's still in there. And Boone, you'll give it to Charlie. And Charlie, you'll give it over to Don. Buddy, sound like that ART-13 turned into quite a project. But you're the man for the job. So I'm sure it's going to emerge sounding really good. And Cliff, hope you have a great trip up to Kutztown, Pennsylvania. And Charlie, thanks for the link to the website, the weather website. I found that quite interesting. And Don, we have missed you on the air, buddy. See if you can't do better. So we'll go ahead and do a quick 73 round, and look for everybody on Thursday, Lord willing. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
Okay, it's N4LQ, and hello, Don. Good to hear you for a change. Well, I found a Western Electric transformer. It's just about like the one that was in this receiver. Fits in the palm of your hand. Matter of fact, you could hold two of them in the palm of your hand. The guy wants $5,000 for one transformer. What an idiot. He's got several of them for sale, though, so I don't think he's going to get that kind of money for a little transformer, but it's old. It's a little bit rough looking, but there you go, $4,999, and it can be yours. So there you go, 73s, everybody. Have a good morning, and we'll see you Thursday at 9 a.m. Over to Brian, if you're still here, KN4R, N4LQ.
Okay, Steve, very good. N4LQ in the group, KN4R. Well, very good on all. Steve, I'd love to see the URL of that transformer, and so might be able to work it into the presentation somewhere. So thanks for the story too about bringing your NC100A home via sled as a novice. That's pretty good. And and Cliff, also your comment. I had not thought about that, but the fact that the coils are integral to the receiver and they don't get separated, and that's also true, of course, the power supply, which has its pros and cons in terms of weight, but you're absolutely right. In fact, my neighbor, John Runsky, a lot of these national moving coil receivers were custom made with custom ranges. Some people wanted 200 to 400, for example, KC, and some didn't. And he had one that was missing one set of coils in the moving coil, and he wanted the broadcast band. So he looked around and finally found on eBay a catacomb full of coils that had come out of one of the receivers that did cover the broadcast band, and he moved the coils over, and they worked perfectly. So that's a real interesting thing. So anyway, I've enjoyed it today. I appreciate it. I sent a few of you emails just looking for any interesting content I might do to spice up the presentation. So I'll send you guys the link in case you want to sign up for it. It's next Wednesday. So anyway, enjoyed it. I'm going to send it back to Cliff. Best of luck at Kutztown, Cliff, and please send me pictures of any moving coil receivers you happen to see up there for sale, or any other interesting receivers. So and I'm going to pass it back to Cliff. And Buddy, thanks again for being the ART-13 expert here on the net. I've got a couple of transmitters over here if you run out of things to do. And don't mind working on high voltage. I've got a couple for you over here too, if you ever need them. So, WB4NKL in the group, I think. Enjoyed it. 73s. This is KN4R.
Yeah, KN4R. It's WB4NKL. Sounds like the bands are changing a little bit. I copied everybody, but signals are getting weaker coming up this way. Steve, sounds like that would have been a bargain to have bought that one from Robert Ramirez, the $500 one. My goodness, I don't know why. Well, I think that's driven by the Asian market, the Western Electric prices. I thought I did real well. I had a Western Electric used Western Electric rectifier tube. I think it's a 274, but it was equivalent to a 5U4, and a fella gave me $300 for that tube, and I thought I was doing real good. But that's some high-priced audio transformers. 73s, and enjoyed it. Try to catch her. Well, I probably won't be around for till maybe Sunday. Probably miss Thursday on the Cutstown trip. Thanks for calling it, Dave. WB4ARKs, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, WB4ARK. Okay, Cliff. Well, the signals are getting a little weaker, and looks like my antenna current has gone down a little bit for some reason. Looks like my output's gone down too. And maybe my frequency's changed. Well, I hope it hasn't changed. Anyhow, we didn't mean to imply, Charlie, that the covers were missing from the get-go. I removed the covers to service the unit. It's got all the covers off of it except the ones on the left-hand side with the meters and the antenna coupling. Everything else is off, so I can get to components to service it. But the band is changing, so I'm going to say 73 and get on another project which I have incurred. It's my lawnmower. I'm not getting fuel to the carburetor like it's supposed to, and so we're going to have to figure out what's going on with that. So over to George, K4, no, it goes to Boone, WA4EVK, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK in the group, WA4EVK. Thank you, buddy. Quite a informative discussion this morning for me. Some of the gear I know nothing about, getting some good information on it. 73s, everyone. I'm going to butt out of here also. I've got quite a bit to do, and what spare time I have, the XYL is sure to fill it in. So over to you, Charlie. W4MEC to take it, WA4EVK.
Yeah, WA4EVK in the group, W4MEC. Again, I know what you're talking about there, buddy, about getting one project done and another one facing you. That's what I've got in my garage right now, trying to get them all squared away so I can go work on something else. And if you've been using ethanol gas in that baby, that carburetor's probably the screen and all that's gunked up. So if not, maybe it just needs a little whack with a hammer. So we'll see you fellas on. Oh, I don't know if I will be here Thursday. I'm taking my wife down to Myrtle Beach. I don't know what time we're leaving. So if I'm here, I'll try and check in. But if not, I'll see you fellas on Sunday. 7-3 all. I think it goes to Don, N4YN in the group, W4MEC.
Okay, thanks, Charles. I'm sitting up here playing with my newly acquired 390, listening to you fellas on a Guns at 66 receiver, and sad to say the 390 is whipping the fool out of this Gonzit. I can actually hear people on the 390 that's kind of blurred. So there's a definite difference for sure. I thought my Gonzits were pretty good, but I believe a few things made this better. Anyway, an inexperienced operator forgot about everything I know except how to keep the microphone and hopefully check my SWR, and everything else I forgot. But everybody's still sounding pretty good. I did miss George, and most of the time I can hear him up here, so I don't know what. But Charles, you're doing good, and of course Steve's blowing my walls off both radios up here. And everybody else is doing good too. I don't know who. I guess it's Eric today because I think I'm the last person on this totem pole. I did get a little turn the amp on. I guess probably the 10 watts wasn't getting very far considering what kind of conditions we are doing. Cliff, by the way, you're doing fine over here too. Anyhow, I turned to Dave because I don't know who else to. WA4LLR in the group, N4YN.
All right, N4YN in the group, WA4LLR. Well, I've been watching the estimator, and I noticed everybody was weaker than normal here. And I did a quick check, and we had an unexpected impact from a coronal mass ejection this morning just before 9 o'clock. So that's the reason we've got the QSB and the weaker signals. That one snuck in on us. Nobody was anticipating it. Anyhow, been a good net. Certainly enjoyed it. I hope everybody has a great week. Lord willing, we will catch up with you on Thursday morning. So 7-3, God bless. Thanks for checking in. This is WA4LLR, Dave in Burnsville, North Carolina, closing this session of the Old Friends Net, returning the frequency to normal amateur use. 7-3.
Thanks, Dave.